I figured we'd just talk about a little bit about the concept of Bediqat Hametz. So when we talk about Bediqat Hametz, we're familiar with our minhag that the night before we go around, we say beracha, and we'll look around for the Hametz. Usually that'll be followed by a declaration of bitul, and then the next morning we'll burn any Hametz that we found, as well followed by the declaration of bitul. I just want to go through a little bit of the origins of where does this come from. So we'll see it a little bit in the Pesukim. We'll see how the rabbis understood what this instruction was and formulated into a practice, and sort of try to get towards at least what we're doing today, why exactly we're doing it, from any real reason. It's going to be hard to conduct real participation with this group, so I'm just going to be talking freely, but I guess just think for yourselves for a minute. So if I ask you, why are you doing Bediqat Hametz? Just think to yourself for a minute. You could throw it in the chat even if you want to try to get some feedback from each other. Why are we doing this? We know we're not allowed to eat Hametz on Pesach, but why are we doing this Bediqat Hametz? Take a second to think that through. So Dara says because there's a positive commandment to remove it, so she's ahead of the game, and we'll get there. So we have to do something formal to commit to that positive commandment. Great. Okay, so let's start off. Let's look into Pesukim, see what we get, and then we'll take it from there. So I'm on the source sheet, or I'm on my screen if you're following with me. We're in the parasha of Bo. So the first thing that happens is Moshe tells Paro, Makat Bechorot is going to happen, just beware. And then before that Makat actually happens, we have what we started to read in Parashat HaChodesh a couple of weeks ago, or last week. God interjects the whole Mitzrayim story, and he gives Moshe and Aaron an instruction. And the first thing he says is, you have to bring a Korban Pesach. So that takes you from Pesukim Aleph through sort of Yud Gimel. So I gave you a little ... And then he says, not only do you have to bring the Korban Pesach, but when you do, not only do you have to do this now, but this should be a festive day going forward for generations to come. And how do we observe this festivity? So in Pasuk Tetvav, here's the important Pasuk. Shiv'at yamim matzot tochelu. We have to eat matzah for 7 days. Okay. Ach bayom harishon. However, on the first day, tashbitu se'or mibatechem. So again, take a second to think, what do you think the word tashbitu means? Maybe the first thing that comes to mind is Shabbat, right? So we know Shabbat is an end of the week, a stopping of some sort. So put an end to the se'or, to any leaven from your houses. Why should you do such a thing, right? Ki kol ochel hametz v'nechreta hanefesh Yisrael. Because if you're going to eat hametz, right, then you will be punished for doing so. So part of your observation of the holiday is to A, eat matzah, B, not eat hametz, and therefore to make sure that you're not eating hametz, you have a positive commandment, as Dars pointed out, seemingly a positive instruction in mitzvah aseh. In order to avoid eating hametz, you must tashbitu se'orim batechem. Okay. The story continues. Bayom harishon mikra kodesh. Fine. If we fast forward a little bit now to Pasuk Yutet, we have a similar, very, very similar Pasuk. Shiv'at yamim, 7 days, not only matzot tochelu, but se'or lo yimatzeh bebatechem. Okay. Ki kol ochel machmetzet v'nechreta hanefesh ahim ma'adat Yisrael. Okay. So here we're not giving a positive commandment to make sure we don't have hametz, to get rid of our hametz. Rather, we have a negative commandment. Lo yimatzeh bebatechem. It's not allowed to be there. You cannot have hametz around in your house. Why? Seemingly for the same reason. Ki kol ochel machmetzet. Because if you were going to eat it, then v'nechreta hanefesh ahim ma'adat Yisrael v'ger u'bezrach haaretz. So two Pesukim reflect each other very closely. The first one says, eat matzah, not hametz. And in order to make sure you're doing that, get rid of the hametz. We didn't necessarily say how. And the second pasuk, very similar, but here a negative commandment, make sure you don't have hametz around. Okay? Furthermore, we're told in pasuk Kav, kol machmetzet lo tochelu, b'chol moshe botechem tochelu matzah. Always don't eat hametz, always eat matzah. Fast forward a little more. Vayomer Moshe la'am zachartem hazeh she'asetem Mitzrayim b'tavadim ki b'chozek yad hotzi Adonai etchem mizeh v'lo ya'achel hametz. Again, another commandment not to eat hametz. And then if we fast forward even a little further, matzot ya'achelet Shabbat Hayamim, v'lo yira'eh lecha hametz, v'lo yira'eh lecha se'or b'chol givulecha. So now, right, similar to the pasuk before, lo yimatzev batechem, it's not allowed to even be around. Hametz is not allowed to be around. So we'll just take a second here to pause and collect a little bit. What are we getting from these pasukim? We're getting that there's a responsibility to eat matzah in commemoration of the Yetziat Mitzrayim. We're further getting a mitzvah to not eat any hametz. Okay? And then we're getting two statements of seemingly precautionary measures, nonetheless coming from the Torah, to say, A, get rid of this hametz, and B, make sure hametz is not around, both of them as precautionary measures to make sure maybe you will eat hametz on Pesach. And so Harambam, in his counting of the mitzvot, right, points out all these things. So the first, out of all these pesukim, Harambam comes out with a few separate mitzvot. Number one is the mitzvah ta'aseh, leva'ir hametz. Okay? So notice Harambam's terminology here is not tashbitu, like we said, put an end to it, but more specifically, leva'ir hametz. And here again, we'll be a little careful with our translation here. Conventionally, it may mean to burn, but it may simply mean to destroy. But all this is coming obviously from the pasuk, Shne'emar bayom harishon tashbitu se'or mibatechem. That's our positive commandment, get rid of hametz from our house. Furthermore, he enumerates some negative commandments. Lo le'echol hametz b'Pesach, we're not allowed to eat any hametz. After that, not only not real, actual hametz, but lo le'echol ta'arovet hametz, not even to eat a combination of hametz. Okay, that's also from these pesukim. I'll skip Kuf Saditeh, but really if we look at Resh and Resh Aleph, those are both very similar. We said those were the Lo Ta'aseh version of Tashbitu, which were Lo Yira'eh Hametz, don't have Hametz around, and Lo Yimatzeh Hametz, Harambam points out, even if it's an area where you wouldn't encounter it, still you have to make sure it's not around. So these are the Mitzvot Aseh that Harambam comes out with from these Pesukim. So let's see how the Mishnah and the Gemara sort of fielded these Pesukim and how we ended up with our practice today, which is, again, the process where we check for the Hametz, we make a statement declaring that Hametz is no longer ours, and the next day we burn whatever remaining Hametz, and again, we make the statement that the Hametz is no longer ours. So we start with the Mishnah. It's the first Mishnah, Masechet Pesachim. It's on the first page of the Gemara. Or l'arbaa asar, on the eve of the 14th, okay, so until 24 hours before Pesach. Bodkin et hametz le'or haned. We check, we search for hametz to the light of a ned, of a flame. And the Mishnah also points out, kol makom she'en machnisin bo hametz en tzarich bediqat. So if you're going to be in a place that you know hametz never really was there before, then you would not have to check it. So if you never really eat in your basement, then you would not have the responsibility to check in the basement. Okay. First thing we'll look at now, based on this Mishnah, is a Gemara on Daf Vav. And the Gemara says, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav, Habodek tzarich shibatel. Even though you're going to check your house, even though you're going to find all the hametz in your house that goes into any place that it could possibly be, and you're going to take the hametz, and seemingly the follow-up step would be to destroy it. Still, even after your bodek, tzarich shibatel, you need to make a statement to nullify the ownership of any hametz in your property. So the Gemara says, "My tama, why would you possibly do this?" Okay, the Gemara offers one option. Maybe it's because there'll be crumbs around your house, and you will still not have found them in the Bediqat. Says the Gemara, if you don't care about those crumbs, then they're not relevant. So Amar Rava says, what's the problem over here? Gezerah shema yimsa guska yafe v'datei lave. Even after you check your house thoroughly, still there may be a situation where over Pesach, you miss the spot and you find a nice, appealing loaf of bread, and datei lave, your mind is on this. And again, I'll pause for a second to let you think, or maybe suggest in the chat, what does that mean, your mind is on this? Basically, what comes out of here is two suggestions. Number one is that the whole point of destroying it is, we said, not only are you not allowed to eat the hametz, but maybe you're not even allowed to own the hametz. It's not even allowed to be around your house. So if you checked and there was an oversight, and then you found a piece of bread that you liked, two possibilities can happen. And this is a machloket with Rishonim, what we're talking about. Option A is that you'll eat it, and we don't want you to eat it. So independent of the fact that you check your house thoroughly, you find hametz, maybe you'll eat it. Option B is that maybe you'll reclaim the ownership. Those are the two suggestions here. Maybe I'll see it, I'll reclaim the ownership, and then I'll say, okay, it's mine, and then suddenly I have owned hametz on Pesach. So therefore, you have a responsibility to not just check your house, but to completely declare that any hametz that maybe you'll find in the future is not yours. And seemingly, that's supposed to help this concern. Okay. So now, assuming that you're going to do this process of bitul, let's work ourselves backwards. What is now the purpose of the Bediqat? Once I'm declaring that all hametz in my house, in my property, in my vacation home, in my office is not mine, right? Now, would I have the responsibility to go and find it, to get rid of it? Why would I have this responsibility? And so the Gemara on Daf Daled addresses this point. It starts off by saying, Ba'u minem Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, hamaskir bait lahaviro be'arba'a asad, hazkato batuk or in hazkato baduk. So if you lease a house from a peer on the 14th of the month, so it's already right before Pesach, can you assume that he thoroughly checked the house and it's hametz free? Or can you not assume that? So the Gemara says, why would that matter? Just ask him. So we said, he's not really present. It's not an easy situation. And we want to know, do I have to make this guy now go and check the house? So he says, I have a proof for you. Right? If somebody testifies to you, if somebody gives you an account that a certain place there has been a Bediqat done, you can believe this person, right? No matter what their status is in court, usually you can believe them in terms of Bediqat hametz. And the Gemara goes through a few possibilities of how we could possibly prove something from this. And it moves on to say that Mishum Amira Dehani Lo Amra Hani Lo. It must be that you need an account of people to tell you that something was checked. That means that what? Naturally, can you assume that something was checked? I'll give you some nodding heads, right? You cannot naturally assume it. You need a testimony of somebody. So therefore, the Gemara says, can we conclude from here that you cannot assume that a house is checked unless somebody said otherwise? And the Gemara answers, lo. The answer is no. Really, you can assume a house is checked. This source that's telling us you could trust people is talking in a scenario where you know that there was a problem, and therefore you could trust these people to counter the problem. So says the Gemara, how come you can trust people that you wouldn't normally trust necessarily in a courtroom, such as an underage person? So he said, the Gemara answers, and this is the bold, Kevdan Bediqat hametz midrabanan. So contrary to what we started with, despite the fact that we have a mitzvah of tashbitu, here the Gemara is saying, if you just do the bitul, we already know you're doing it one way or another. So if you just do that bitul, that will be sufficient to fulfill your deoraita obligation. So why are you doing bediqat? This is a mitzvah d'Rabbanan. And therefore, since it's only a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, the rabbi said we could be lenient as to who we trust in this. We'll skip the next source for now. And we'll look how Rashi tries to put these pieces together. All right? So Rashi on the Mishnah says, Potkin, why do you check? Why are you checking? This is the reflection we saw in the Pesukim. You have a positive commandment, tashbitu, because maybe you'll eat something. And you have the negative commandment, lo yimatzeh, because maybe you'll eat something. So says Rashi, this commandment of bediqat is reflective of the isur of lo yira'eh v'lo yimatzeh hameh. However, Rashi points out that still, based on the Gemara on Daf Daled, bebitul be'alma d'chtiv tashbitu v'lo ketiv teva'alu v'hashbata d'levi hashbata. The mitzvah of tashbitu can be accomplished, like we said, just through bitul, just through declaring, this is no longer mine. Okay? And therefore, it says tashbitu. It doesn't say you have to actively destroy it. So if you just have in mind that it's no longer yours, you're in the clear. And therefore, the whole mitzvah of the Bediqat is a dirabanan, and himnua rabbanan b'hayuva deleta elemi dirabanan. Okay? This is Rashi's understanding of the sugya. Okay? And here, therefore, Rashi understands, if you just look at on Vav, once you do bitul, eno oved, you have no violation of lo yira'eh and lo yimatzeh, and you have no responsibility of tashbitu, right? And therefore, the mitzvah of Bediqat is a dirabanan. The Tosfot is a little bit confused by the Rashi, and therefore the Tosfot go ahead and say, first of all, Rashi, I have a couple of questions. So the source that we skipped, I maybe should go back. If we go back to the Gemara on Dafeh, says Rabbi Akiva Omed Eno Tzarich. The Gemara wants to know, how do I know that the pasuk says Bayom Harishon Tashbitu Seor? When do you get rid of your hametz? On the first day of Pesach. But we all do it the day prior. How do I know this? So Rabbi Akiva says, how do I know you're not doing it on the first day of Pesach itself? Because it says tashbitu, and we're not allowed to do melacha, and tashbitu would be a violation of melacha. Why? Because how do you do tashbitu? Since burning, right, we know igniting flames on holiday is an av melacha, and that would be the way you would do tashbitu. So therefore, it must be you're doing it the day prior. This is Rabbi Akiva's statement in the Gemara. So it says Tosfot, it's clear that how do the rabbis expect you to do hashbata, not just through bitul, but as well through hav'ara, as well through burning it. And when the Gemara is suggesting bitul, right, it's a loophole. It's a way to get out of the original halacha. The original halacha, the mitzvah ta'aseh, is lahashbit, to actually burn your hametz. But bitul helps because if it's no longer yours, then you no longer have the responsibility of tashbit. This is Tosfot's refutation of Rashi. Okay? And therefore, Tosfot says also, the reason we do the Bediqat is because once you do the bitul, you no longer have, again, no longer have to worry to do a Bediqat, and therefore, the Hakamim are making sure you check your hametz just in case you find something, maybe you'll pop it in your mouth. It's not yours, you're not violating Bal Yireh Bal Yimatzeh. They're concerned that maybe you'll actually eat it. Okay, that was a lot I got out in one shot. I know you're probably confused, so I'm going to try to tie it together using the Bartenuta. We saw the Pesukim that have basically three basic points. Number one, don't eat hametz. Number two, in avoidance of eating hametz, get rid of the hametz from your house beforehand. And the negative side of that is make sure it's not in your house. Those were our conclusions from the Pesukim. The Mishnah therefore concluded 2 steps. A, check your house and destroy whatever you find. B, make a declaration that if there's something you missed, it no longer belongs to you. Those 2 pieces together will satisfy your mitzvah. The question is, how does that exactly happen? So first we note that no matter what, you're going to be doing the bitul. No matter what, whether you check or whether you don't check, you're going to do the bitul. And therefore, Rashi points out that you've done the bitul, you no longer have a Torah obligation to check, but we do it for dirabanan. Tosfot grapples a little bit with it, tries to show that no, we do have a positive commandment of tashbitu to destroy actively. That's more than just a bitul. However, bitul is a loophole that gets us out of the responsibility, but we still do the Bediqat to make sure that if I find something, maybe I will eat it by mistake. And this is summarized nicely by the Bartenura over here. So the Bartenura comments on the Mishnah and he summarizes the Gemara for us. And he says, two reasons. Number one, some say, if you find it, what will be the problem? You'll have violated Bal Yira'eh Ubal Miyimatzeh. You'll have violated your ownership of Hametz on Pesach. That's the Shita of Rashi. The Tosfot understands, why do you do the Bediqat? Because if you find it, you will potentially eat it. That's how we feel the Gemara. Let's look now towards Harambam. So Harambam in Hilchot Hametz Umatzah, after he counted out the mitzvah for us, he tries to go through what the halachot would be. And he brings a few halachot. So first of all, he says, Mitzvat aseh min haTorah lehashpit hametz kodem zman isur achilato shne'emar bayom harishon tashpitu se'orim batechem. As he pointed out in his counting of the mitzvah, we have an active commandment, positive commandment, to totally destroy hametz from the house. Okay. And he points out that when are we going to do this? The day before Pesach. And now in Halacha Bet, he says, Umay hashpata zu ha'amura b'Torah. What is this destruction that we're talking about? Ish yibatel hametz b'libo v'yachashov oto ke'afar v'yasim b'libo she'en b'shuto hametz kila. In order to satisfy your Torah obligation of hashpata, all you have to do is declare, not even verbally, seemingly in your mind, that everything that's hametz, that's in your property, is like dirt. It's not mine. I don't care about it. It's irrelevant. And then you're in the clear. Okay? But in Halacha Gimal, he says, Midivre sofrim adin dirabanan, a new halacha, lehapesa hara hametz. That nonetheless, even though you satisfied your Torah obligation, you're going to check a hara hametz and mahba'ot in all these places. Okay? The Kesef Mishneh disputes this. Not disputing what Harambam says, but he wants to claim that our Girsa in Harambam, the version of the text of Harambam, doesn't make sense. Because he's unhappy with ignoring the Rabbi Akiva that says that there's an active commandment of Hashpata through bi'ud, through actually destroying something. And therefore, the Kesef Mishneh that I brought you over here brings Umay hashpata zo ha'amura b'Torah. What is this destruction or this putting an end to hametz that is said in the Torah? It's a combination. First thing you have to do is anything that you are aware of, or will add, can potentially become aware of, you actually have to actively remove it from your property. You can't just do it in your head. But things that are not clear to you, that you're not aware of, that yivatelo bilibo. So here the Kesef Mishneh is coming out completely with a new understanding of how to understand the Pesukim. And if you look at the bold, he says if you look in the Pesukim, the Tashbitu is implying a two-pronged step. Prong number one, obviously emptying out your kitchen of any hametz that you know about. Part of that is therefore to thoroughly search through any area that would normally have hametz and eliminate it from your property. Right? We do it through burning it, and seemingly the Rabbi Akiva was advocating to do it through burning it. However, as well, since there are things that you may have overlooked, and as the Gemara pointed out, maybe you'll overlook it, and maybe you'll see it, and maybe you'll like it, and maybe you'll want it. Therefore, as well, we do a bitul, and that will somehow, that bitul will prevent us from violating this halacha. I'm going to wrap it up here because I realized that it was a lot of different sources to field. So I'm going to wrap it up here and give 1 or 2 minutes for questions. One more time to sum it up, even though I summed it up a few times right now. We have Pesukim that say don't eat hametz, make sure to get rid of your hametz, and don't own the hametz. We have rabbinic statements that say the way to go about this, well, there's two different things that we're trying to juggle. Number one, check your property and eliminate anything that's there. But also, number two, make a declaration that it's no longer yours. And we sort of saw three options as to how to field that. Rashi was under the impression that bitul itself is completely sufficient. And there's only a din d'Rabbanan to double check. Okay? The Tosfot sort of went in between by saying I can't totally disregard tashbitu, right? There is an element of tashbitu to actively get rid of things, but nonetheless, he acknowledges that the midoraita bitul would be enough, right? And Bediqat is also a precautionary measure. Maybe you will eat it. Harambam, while the text that we have in Harambam seems to comply very much with Rashi and our basic sources of the Gemara, but the Kesef Mishneh threw in a wrench and said we have a bad version of Harambam. And actually, there are both two pieces that come towards the Deoraita. Number one, anything you know about to eliminate. We included in that also checking. And number two is when you don't know or when you finish your checking to do a bitul verbally or even mentally. And that's sort of the underpinnings of the discussion. Obviously, the discussions continue way past Harambam into other medieval commentators that try to understand the Gemara differently, and then the Shulchan Aruch and people that try to field these pieces and put it into halacha l'ma'aseh, and different minhagim grow out. But at least we found at least the core sources that'll take us from the Torah to at least the time of Harambam in the origins of Bediqat Hametz and why we're doing it. So Margie asked a great question, and honestly, I don't have a good answer to you. The Mishnah says that you only need to check places that you don't bring Hametz, right? So seemingly the implication would be a room that you know definitively. You never brought a snack in there while you were watching anything. You never I had a kid accidentally bring something down. So it's an area where really Hametz just doesn't go. Then you would not have to check in that area. So why do we do such a thing? It seems to be not part of the obligation of Bediqat, but an extra precautionary measure to further, just in case. And we do spring cleaning and other things as well, just to help us in preparation for the holiday of Pesach. The class was not focused on exactly the details of Bediqat. The Mishnah itself actually continues to clarify what's considered a place that may have Hametz and what not. But in general, we just, I guess, try to be as precautious as possible to cover everything. I'll take a minute for any other questions. I want to really finish on time so people can move on to other speakers. Okay. I guess, all right. Am I missing something? I think we're good. Okay. Thank you guys for joining. And I hope you're staying safe, and I hope everyone's doing well. And enjoy your Pesach, however you're celebrating.